and we'll kind of go from there. So there's like a minute delay and everything as well, so it's gonna.
Okay, so if we say something bad, you can bleep it out.
I can't bleep it out, but we can wait a minute and then just watch the reaction again. But yeah, this Google Hangouts thing has loads of like really strange stuff. Like we can do clapping. It sounds a bit funny. And
you know what I remember?
Yeah.
You know, I remember some of that when Jan used to host her group on this.
Yeah.
The laugh track is. We'll try to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I'm getting an echo now.
Echo. All right.
Wait.
Lower my volume to see if that improves it.
No, it's mine because where is it? Okay, right. God, it's just because the video came on, so I was hearing what we said a minute ago, which is very confusing. Okay, so let me just post this about a bit of the old social media, and we'll see what happens. Okay, there's one, there's two.
How's the lighting? Do we need a little more fill?
I don't know if I can give us more.
No, I'm just playing. Just a little lift for the old chin right here. No, I'm just kidding.
Little highlight.
Is that high enough for you?
I think so.
Yeah.
We're just trying to raise the computer so we weren't.
All right, cool. Yeah, we have a bit of time. Let's just see if people come on yet. One person's watching. Okay. Sorry, guys. A few more minutes.
No, it's fine, Matt.
Come in.
No rush.
It's good stuff. We've got like automated emails and stuff to like go out to people and tell them that live and all sorts of crazy background stuff.
Yeah, I don't see where you find the time to do all of this, Matt.
I know.
All these videos and interviews and the equipment. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really just on the fly. I'm currently there's just a battery test going on there just with the SMQVs, like single and dual. And I did one test where it's kind of like low, like there's not very much like input level going into them. And now I'm doing the one where it's kind of louder. So it's like always hitting over -10 just to see if there's any difference with the exact same batteries. So
we've discovered that there is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to see. So far, like the time for, I think the time for the dual one's about 10 hours, pretty much bang on with the ones that I have. But then we'll see what the other one does. The short one does probably like 4 hours or something. But the batteries are kind of old as well, but it's just to get that kind of...
Talking about the electros, it's kind of fun. The shoot we're on now with Jennifer Lawrence has the electro app on her phone, so she'll put hers to sleep.
Nice.
Or wake it up. Yeah. It's pretty...
She censors herself, actually, which is kind of interesting.
Wow. Okay.
A friend of ours who's another sound guy gave her the app for her phone, so when she was walking off set, she'll deedle herself.
Yeah, if she feels like she needs the privacy or is concerned about it. Yeah.
Amazing. I should do that.
I think she had a bad experience at one time, Matt.
Okay.
With whoever, but I think she got burned once, and so anyway.
But it's interesting because come back on, Jen, would you mind turning yourself on? And everybody's like, what are you talking about?
Amazing. Then it's like, no phones on set. What are you doing? Cool. Oh, Jeff Wexler is watching now. He says, hey.
Jeff who? Just hello, Mr. Wexler.
Okay, so we got a couple of people here. We've got 7, 8, and 9. So I suppose this is the time to do the official intro. Hey everyone, Matt from Soundrolling.com. I'm here with Doug and Whit, and we are talking all things sound recording. you can, there should be a comment window. I forget which side it is. And remember, this is live, so you can ask your questions. There's a little bit of a delay. So if you ask your question, I might be in the process of answering it like a minute later. So just bear that in mind. Also, feel free to share this link with anyone. Anyone can join, all that kind of jazz. And yeah, so firstly, how are you guys doing?
Great. We didn't see the sun come up Friday night or Saturday morning, but so anyway, I think we both have had a restful weekend.
Yeah, we had the textbook Friday. Went in, 1:30 Friday afternoon, and then got off about 3:30.
About 3:30. Yeah.
Yesterday morning, and
nice. So, I mean, my first thing, since you're both here, is just to talk about kind of like the relationship between mixer and boom op. So how does your relationship work?
Well, our relationship, I was adding up the years. It's been about 15 years now that we've worked, I'd say about 80% of our work.
Yeah, at least 80.
Yeah, at least 80 together in the last 15 years. We don't have to talk about it a lot. We've been together for so long. I leave the set to Doug. Doug pretty much operates the set. He never leaves the set. He's always there with the shooting crew and the lighting crew. He's not hanging out with me unless there's really a lot of downtime or something, and he'll come and check in on me, but I check in on him. But Doug manages the set, and I manage the other end. If there's some obstacles that he's having issues with, I can step in sometimes and deal with them. Something that, might require the mixer to deal with.
Yeah, I try to handle the, mic placement and logistics and kind of the game plan of how we're going to approach the scene so that Whit's has more time to, do the track mapping and actual, fine tuning of the, levels and things like that. So hopefully we both complement each other so that neither one of us has to do both jobs. And we should also talk about Alana, our third person, utility.
Yeah,
she's the brains of the organization. She's the go-between between both of us, and she's a very good second boom operator when that's necessary, and she's really good with putting wireless mics on people and, working out logistics with the production department and, making sure the actors come see us on the way to set, things like that too. So we kind of have it compartmentalized, but we all overlap. Mm-hmm. So pretty complimentary situation.
And one thing that Doug does is, since this started developing 7 or 8 years ago, multi-tracking and miking everyone, there's different philosophies on it. Yeah, we'd love to get it all on the boom. That's our goal. But we also believe in having options because things change on the set, lighting changes, cameras are added, shots are change. And what Doug has always tried to do is give me options. Yeah. So if it doesn't work for the boom, then we've got it on the wire or we have it on the plant mic.
And for post-production too, we try to keep it as fluid as possible so that filmmaking doesn't have to halt because sound has to make an adjustment or whatever. We try to think of that stuff ahead, and so that if something changes at a moment's notice, we can just say, okay, fine.
We've got it covered. And the idea of keeping people mic'd the majority of the time gives us these options and gives us these options to give post. That way, if an actor goes deeper or goes somewhere where Doug would have a shadow or couldn't get to them, I can just bring up the fader and they're there in the mix. So with what he does, really gives me the opportunity to make a strong mix.
And so in terms of miking up, so for every scene, you're just going to mic anyone that's speaking anyway, just so you have that flexibility later on?
Exactly.
Yeah, we try to do that unless there's a problem or costume.
Yeah, unless there's an issue or something like that, we try to do that for the most part, just to have as a backup and just to for it to be an option.
And just talking more about I guess the role of the third in this. You say it's like running the department, and obviously one of you's on set, one of you's focusing on the other end. So what kind of responsibilities run through the middle, as it were?
Well, with Alana, I mean, she is handling all the wireless, miking all the actors generally. She's also getting us our feed from Video Assist, as well as we're sending a feed to Video Assist. She's there at all the rehearsals, generally watching in case she has to do a second boom, and also so she understands what's going on in a scene. Also, she's the administrator of the department. When I say that, ordering supplies, keeping up with the time cards and paperwork and that. So she's also the administrator. She's dealing with, bringing in the batteries, additional equipment, or having equipment repaired, that type of stuff.
And in terms of your process, obviously going on to a feature film like the one you're on now, what's your kind of process for prep? Are you guys meeting up, or who's like coming up with the game plan, kind of pre-production?
Generally, what we do is I'll get the script, then Doug and Alana will get a script. Then we'll read the script and study it, and then generally by that time, there's usually at some point there's a schedule, and we start looking at it. On this project, being that it's sci-fi based, there are spacesuits involved. We've got about probably, I believe when I broke the last breakdown I did was 7 to 8 days. But we go through and look at, okay, well, if there's spacesuits involved, then there's going to have to be communications. So actors are going to have to be able to hear each other. They're going to have to be able to hear the director. If we're doing blue screen work and having them float in space, then there's going to be a stunt coordinator involved that would be communicating with them also. So we started planning out for this particular picture some of that. Also, in a breakdown, we look at how many people are in a scene.
Yeah.
If we have a scene with 12 people, we've got to make sure we're prepared for that, which might even be an option of bringing an additional boom operator in if we were going to have a day that heavy. What other prep, Doug?
I mean, just depending on the show, not this one in particular, but it's if there's music playback, or we've done several shows where there's music playback and dialogue at the same time, and then you get into earwigs and communication, and another person that would come in to do like Pro Tools playback that could edit on the fly with us also. Just every show is kind of different. Yeah, and also generally I'll reach out to the director and just what his thoughts, what his views are, how he feels about it, and presenting my breakdown also kind of, well, it looks like we're going to have an original music here and do playback. And discuss some of the things that I break down when I see the script. I'll generally do that in pre-production with him. And then there's the standard pre-production. Usually Alana joins me because Doug lives out of town if we're filming in Atlanta. Alana will join me for prep, and even we'll get together a few days and just start making sure we have things organized and have ordered supplies to start the project with. A lot of phone calls go on during
a lot of phone calls. Yeah.
Where we're all, thinking of things and discussing, what if this happens, or should we talk to somebody about this? And, costumes with the space suits on this particular show, or,
Yeah, because it's quite interesting to find out your thoughts on like what you're looking at from like what a script is kind of telling you based on both your experience and your role as boom operator. Can you kind of make kind of educated guesses about a lot of the stuff? I mean, spacesuits being an obvious one, but
that and playback. I mean, obviously we can tell if there's going to be a band in the bar scene. I'll give an example.
Whatever.
Yeah, we can generally see that. Obviously, there's more questions to it. How many people are in the band? That type of thing.
I guess and over the years it's gotten the more you do this, the more kind of educated guesses become really well-educated guesses.
You go from primary school to university. Like.
Exactly.
And then if we're doing a film like Anchorman 2 or ID Theft, where we know there's going to be a lot of ad-libbing with the actors, and so we're prepared for that. Generally you'll do take one as it's written, and then
it's off the map.
Then it's off the map.
I'm always like incredible, comic geniuses with you just have to kind of let them go and let the magic kind of happen, and then the script's out the window, and then you really have to be like on your A game as far as like mic placement goes. You can't just like lock into one set of cues. You just have to like,
from his standpoint,
go into your other mode, whatever, trying to anticipate.
It's really interesting, kind of just glancing over your IMDb about you kind of seem to do a lot of comedy and then a lot of action. So there's a lot. It seems like your kind of style is let's say a bit more free than conventional narratives in a way.
Yeah, and we specialize in movies with numbers after them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Nice.
That's what a lot of our friends kid us about. But no, we've had the I could say in that we're blessed to have been able to do some large action movies as well as do some great comedies that we haven't been chiseled into one type of picture, I guess. People know we can do the big action things as well as the comedy things. So, as long as the directors and producers have confidence in us, that's all that really matters.
And is that kind of I don't know if it's quite a conscious choice, but again, it's probably in people's minds a lot of the time that they're probably going to specialize in, let's say, film or TV or whatever. How did it come about that you got this kind of range or portfolio together? Was it kind of conscious intent to be like, I want to try and do a comedy, I want to try and do an action, or was it just, I really love film, I want to do film? Or how did that break down?
I think it was more or less we really wanted to do film, and we managed to both stay out of television in recent years, just because I like the pace of film better than television. It's it's nice to concentrate on about 3 pages a day versus 7 to 10 or whatever that they're doing out there. And also, we, I guess, wanted to go where we were wanted. If a producer or a production or a director wanted us on their team, that seemed to me to be more important than picking out what that project was. It just happens that we've done some action and some comedies, that's where we seem to fall in between. We haven't done a lot of dramas in a while, except this one maybe. Yeah. Well, I'll take that back. The count, it was more dramatic. Kind of dramatic. Yeah.
Yeah, just anything that's a challenge.
Yeah, nice.
It's try to stay loose and available to any vision instead of just trying to, because it gets boring doing the same thing over and over again. Everybody knows that.
It's very true. Yeah, the idea of recording sound is very simple in a perfect scenario, isn't it? And that's the scenario is what make our job challenging.
But I will say this, and I think Doug will agree with me, the comedies that we've done, or comedies in general, when you're working with the types of Will Ferrell's and the various ones, they are the most challenging to be able to keep up and keep those guys mic'd and tracked, and with the overlaps and
you want to
ad libs, because you want to create an environment for them to work in. You don't want to limit them on what they're doing.
You want it to be organic and them not have to think, oh, I can't interject this line because I'll be stepping on this person's line. You want to keep the technical part of it as far away as possible if you can, so that.
Yeah, I mean, you always, we don't have a problem letting a director know on a close-up maybe they shouldn't be stepping on somebody's lines, but we're not going to be forceful about it. Just make them aware of it. And we're dealing with people that know how to make films, so it's Yeah.
And a lot of times the stuff that ends up going on the screen is something organic that happened in the moment, where people playing off each other, and you don't want to limit that if you can help it.
But I think that's some of the most challenging work we do is the comedies. Definitely. I think it's more challenging than the action pictures.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely.
And so how does that work technically in terms of just covering them off if people are overlapping? It's just a case of just
everybody's mic'd and tracked, and I try to do
two booms and
2 booms, and do the best mix I can.
Yeah,
I try to mix for what's on camera at the time when you're dealing with some of that, and hopefully the fact that everyone's ISO'd will give post enough of a chance to make it all work.
Yeah,
fantastic. And kind of coming back, just in regards to kind of wardrobe questions, what's the kind of conversation with that like? Is Doug, are you doing it, or is it Whit, or is that made on the day, or?
It's kind of all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I try to meet with the production designer. I'm sorry, the costume designer, and just, hey, what are they going to be wearing? What kind of materials? That type of thing.
Like for example, on Ant-Man, we did the Marvel movie Ant-Man, and the suit, we knew the suit was going to be a big part of the story, and turns out the suit was made out of leather and rubber and some other things, which wasn't necessarily like the most sound friendly situation, but we figured a way with the costume designer and with the on-set costumer to basically put wireless into the costume so that it was like
we basically had mics sewed in. We had different costumes. You had one for stunts. You had one.
Yes.
You had, depending on what Ant-Man was doing, you would have different costumes.
And they'd have the close-up costume. They'd have the like detail costume, and then they'd have the other ones that were for like wide shots that wasn't necessarily, you know, all the bells and whistles and things like that. But we still had to mic each one of them and make it to where it was easy. Because once Paul was in the suit, it wasn't like, oh, we got to make an adjustment. You got to take the suit off.
Yeah, it was
like a half-hour, 45-minute process. So we wanted to make it as seamless as possible. We just put the, you know, we even hid the pack before he got there, and then he put the suit on and he was ready to go. We didn't have to really.
Yeah, and I tried in pre-production on that film. I tried to see about having the pack built into the suit, to part of the gadgets that were on the suit, and that didn't happen. And due to the scheduling, and I saw that that wasn't a priority while they were trying to build the suit, and so we kind of had to step back and let them finish the suit. And then approached it, and then even on day one, it didn't work out the way we wanted to with the suit, which was a big deal. It was the first time with the suit, and so it was a big day on the set.
Yeah, and that's where Alana came in too. She, at that point, had the ability to be with the costume department and with the you know, the actor Paul Rudd and the director, while they were making these last-minute decisions. She was helping to fine tune what we were going to do at the same time while I was on set, and it was.
But here's the best story. You'll love this, Matt. So we tried one thing on that first day with the suit, which I knew it wasn't going to, probably was not going to work out, but I went along with what the wardrobe people were wanting to do, and it did not work out the way we wanted it to. And what I wanted to do was put a small hole in the suit where part of this logo was, which you would never see. It would be in the shadows. And all the wardrobe costumers were like, "Oh no, that's above my pay grade. No, I can't. We can't put a hole in the suit." And Sammy, who was the costume designer, lovely, lovely lady from the UK, great lady, told her what I wanted to do, and she goes, "Oh, no problem." And she got a little hammer and got a leather punch. She did it herself, put the hole in it, and there we were off. You know, it was great, and we did
have to have the person with the authority to put a hole in a $2 million suit.
Well, that was whatever, yeah. But so you know, and it worked out. But it is great working with them and working with the on-set costumers and all the way to the costume design. Yeah, great people. But we start talking to them early and taking a look at what's going on, and usually they also know if there's a problem with or something that might be questionable.
Right.
And on this picture so far, they actually have sewed in one of our mics to a dress. So yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it too, is you have to be respectful of everybody's portion of the film. You know, everybody's responsibilities, and you have to gain their trust pretty much, because you know, we've always tried to be more filmmakers than just sound people, and work within everybody else's parameters too. And to do that, you have to gain their trust and respect. And you can't just go in there and say, "We need this."
You've got to understand what their job is and what their limitations are.
It's fascinating. And in terms of just the, I'm just trying to think about when you're sewing in a pack, like what packs are you using? How long do you need the batteries? What's the kind of process for just making sure that once it's set, it's set and forget?
Yeah. That was a trick on Ant-Man. That was that was one thing, was the battery. Since we were using an SM, because we had to use a smaller pack.
Right. It was a very form-fitting suit.
And
so we knew we only had a certain amount of time. So
we actually used the app a lot to put it to sleep, because we wanted that pack to make it till lunchtime.
Or the next costume
change or whatever it would be. And so we were very careful to always put that to sleep and wake it up when we need it, which normally we don't operate that way. Generally, you know, we can keep a battery until lunchtime for most of our work, but we really had to keep an eye on it when it was when you cannot get to it.
Yeah. Just thinking about when it's sewn in.
Yeah.
Is there any is the position kind of dictated again by costume, or are you still trying to go for like the small of the back? Are you, because obviously trying to get reception when it's sewn in is another deal.
Also, it's dictated by what's comfortable and what is not seen.
Right.
And so ideally small of the back is always great, but if it has to go down on an ankle or a thigh, we're open to whatever works for everyone, because you got to keep an actor comfortable, and also it has to work for the wardrobe, that there's no obviously extra bulges or anything like that, and that's especially concerned on young ladies generally.
But also technically, having the right gear is very important. We've got the right antennas with antenna boosters, and we always put them very close to set. So we're, using quarter watts whenever we can get away with it, so we don't have to think too much about the reception. You can put it on an ankle and not worry about it. Ideally, if somebody would wear it on their forehead and a headband, that'd be great. Just do that. But so we're always, first thing when we get on a new set, find a place for the antennas that's just offset, whether it's a practical location or a stage or whatever. That's always real important. That's one of the first things we do when we get somewhere.
And so where are you looking for in terms of basing yourself at one location? Or
you talking about where the recording card is?
Yeah. Where do you keep all your stuff, and where are you wiring?
Generally, I know there was a lot of talk on JW about this, or a big thread about where you like to set up or where your cart likes to be. In the recent years, I like to be around the corner. I don't want to be right in the middle of the set, although I could be, but there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of lighting, a lot of equipment. You're in the way, and you're an obstacle for other departments. And
it's a distraction for you preparing for the scene too. You need to have a little bit of
I like being in a little around the corner on the back of the set, a little quiet place. And also it's a quiet place to bring an actor to wire them. I'm not next to Video Village where all the producers want to come and talk to them or whatever. There's not a lot of distractions usually where I'm set up. I'm usually around the corner.
Close enough to march in and make a speech if you need to.
But still, I'm not right in the middle of it. I don't have to see the set. I have a video sys feed, but I like being just a little bit away from, just around the corner, and being a little
accessible, but not in the way.
Yeah, exactly. And also what I think is important is I don't, and Doug knows I'm very proud of this, I can pick a spot where I don't have to move all day. Because I think a lot of times wasted by moving equipment, and then when you have to move equipment, then you have to recable equipment and repower equipment, and a lot of time, I'm not going to say it's wasted. Obviously, when it has to be done, it has to be done, but it gives us time to focus on other things instead of moving equipment constantly every time there's a new setup.
And Doug, you're always on the set, I hear. So what are you kind of doing in between takes?
Just being there. I think it's really important, especially for a boom operator, if you're going to be on the set and working within the parameters, lighting and grip and stuff like that. You don't want to come in at the last minute and say, hey, I need this moved and that moved. You have to watch it develop and say, hey, do you guys have an inch to give me here so I can do this? Or, I'm having a little bit of a shadow situation. Can you help me with some diffusion or whatever? If you do that and you're with the process for all along the way, it's much easier and you get much more goodwill rather than coming in when they say, first team, and you show up and start doing your thing. You got to be there the whole time and watch it happen and be proactive throughout the whole process. That's just the only way to do it.
Doug knows probably as much about lighting as he does sound, just because he sits there and watches them light every day, all day.
Well, and just little things too, like, doing all the rehearsals with second team and stuff like that. So you and the operator and the dolly grip and everybody's like got the, once the actors get to set, it should all of the little things should be worked out so that they can come and do their thing and, print it to film or video or whichever format you're on and move on. But if you just have to be there like every step of the way, or you're not living up to your responsibilities, I guess.
Yeah.
You'll be called out. And how's the communication work with the director? Are you are you just giving feedback? You're giving feedback obviously when something's wrong, but if everything's fine, is there kind of no communication, or how does that work?
Ideally, if there's nothing to report and they're happy with the way it sounds, it's fine with me too. You know, there'll be times where you have to say, you know, we had a situation on this last take. There was a, you know, a noise or an ambulance if you're out of practical location, or, you know, sometimes it's as simple as just going up to the director and say, just an observation, but did you feel like the enunciation on that last line, is that something that you're comfortable with, or do you want to talk to the actors? It's just, you know, try to be, I mean, they're liaison, they're sound expert, you know.
Well, and sometimes we've had to watch out for, we've worked over the years with an actor that has an accent that's from another country that is maybe playing an American part. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we're asked, there'll be a dialect coach there, but sometimes we're asked to listen out because occasionally a word or something will slip out that, you know, was not in the correct dialect.
Right.
I guess would be a way to put it.
It seems like that's becoming more of a, let's say, prominent issue in terms of, I guess, just enunciation and making things clear from the. I guess all I can think of is like the superhero films where everyone has to be really, really gruff and like Taken and stuff like that.
Oh well,
so
yeah. And I also like with Vin Diesel though in the Fast. I mean, Vin's he brings his voice down a bit. Yeah.
He always has to cough a couple times and like pitch himself down before he starts saying his lines, because his voice is nothing like what comes off in the Fast and Furious movies.
But he's I tell you, he's such a nice guy to work with, though. Yeah. And he was never had a problem with being wired, never questioned anything, and always came by and said hello to us every day we worked with him.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah. So is there any point where he gets too low, like or are you just kind of letting things go?
His voice strikes the mic really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not an issue.
And that's part of the character, you know. Just kind of
just go.
Toretto, I mean Toretto, that's part of him. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, so let's step back a bit and just talk about how you guys met and how, I guess, a partnership for like 15 years is essentially formed.
The way we originally met, Doug lives in Wilmington, North Carolina. He prefers to be by the beach in his boats.
Nice.
I was hired. I had worked for a director before on a film out west. Actually, it was in New Mexico, and he was going to be doing a film in Wilmington. And I was requested to come through the film. The production told me I would not be able to bring anyone, that I would have to hire somebody local. I had never spoken with Doug. I knew of his reputation and knew of some of the sound mixers he had worked with. And talking around, everybody said I should reach out to Doug. So we started talking over the phone and agreed to do that picture together. It wasn't a big picture. It was called Stateside.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was like a smaller budget feature, but it was a good show.
Yeah. And we started working on that, and we got along really well and
worked in similar ways, and had similar philosophy and
had the same values. Yeah. And then I guess that's when we started doing a lot of traveling too in our work. Yeah. So since we were working out of town, people were having to bring us in, so it didn't matter. People weren't limiting me to having to hire the local person. And also after I worked with Doug, I think it was on one project, I refused to hire local because I wanted Doug. And now people, when they say Whit, it's Whit and Doug. And now Whit, Doug, and Alana.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to be known for that, because bringing somebody in from out of town does affect budgets, because they're required to travel them, to house them per diem, to pick up all their expenses, which really can add up if you're doing a 4 or 5 month long film.
Yeah.
No, completely. It's just really interesting, just talking about the relationship, because still being in kind of the indie realm and things, trying to get a consistent relationship going with someone when everyone's kind of mixing and booming for various people just to
Right.
kind of keep things going. It's just interesting to hear how you get together. So
and it just worked out.
It worked out. I was at a point where I was working with lots of different people, and I don't know, it just worked out to where we, liked working together, and were able to keep the ball rolling, kind of thing.
And at that point, I had some people on my team and hadn't quite worked out the way I wanted to. Finding someone like Doug, whose personality is very respectful of other people and knows the craft so well and gets along with everybody, because you got to remember, you're spending 12 to 14 hours a day with people side by side, but on the set, as well as he and I and the shooting crews we work with. So you got to have somebody that really gets along with people and has that personality, I think. Yeah.
And we complement each other pretty well too, because I've mixed some stuff before, and I started out like doing more music and recording studio work, and then I got into the film business, and I just really like being a boom operator, and having mixed before, I can appreciate what Whit does, but I can't sit down for that long. So it's he loves what he's doing, I love what I'm doing, and now that we have Alana, she really likes doing some of everything at this point. So it's just a really good, we all get to do exactly what we want to do, but we work really well together, and we've done it enough together now that a lot of it is kind of just like a natural thing. We don't have to talk about it.
We don't have to, unless it's something really out of the ordinary, we know how to solve it, or how we would solve it, or how we would mic it.
Right.
But anyway, Doug, again, as I spoke earlier, Doug gives me so many options to do things, and with mixing and miking. So it's great to have that. I don't know. Are we going where you want to, Matt? I don't know.
No. Yeah. It's
babbling a little bit sometimes.
No. It's all good. And everyone in the comments, like Jeff, Jan, all the usual suspects are all chiming in and agreeing in terms of partnership and stuff. So no, it's really good. So in terms of because Doug, like you've been a sound mixer as well, and Whit, I don't know if you've done boom operating, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on kind of having a sample, as it were, of the different roles to try and understand better your role and your context within it. Within the team.
My
Do
role?
I need to rephrase the question?
Yeah, maybe rephrase it for me.
Just in terms of so Doug's done mixing before, and but does boom operating, but knowing the process of mixing can then help infer his boom operating. Is that the same for you in terms of, have you done boom operating before as well? Yeah. No,
I mean, I've done some boom operating. I can't say I've done boom operating on a 3-camera episodic television show, but over the years I've done documentaries and second boom. I was the sound utility and second boom on My Cousin Vinny with Bobby Anderson and Pud. But I've done my share of it over the years. I've been able to teach people how to boom, but I don't obviously pick up a pole that often anymore. But I know what a good boom operator is, and I also know the limitations of a boom sometimes, of what can and can't work, and when you need to have 2 booms. And if Doug ever says, that's not going to work for me, I cannot get that, I don't ever question it. While
that comes with working together a lot too. I'll say, look, you need to help me get this person to me, like
bring them to me.
Yeah, I'll say, bring them to me, or you got the first 3 steps, and then let me have it.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
So I know what the limitations are, I guess. Is that kind of answering your question a little bit?
Yeah. It's just in terms of just trying to, I guess, to be able to work as a complete team. You've built up that experience and trust, but I just wondered how it related to kind of your personal experiences within the role as well. So no, that's great. And so then talking about Alana as well, Jose just asks about what sort of traits you're looking for in a third. So I guess there's a few people out there that are wanting to kind of step up and try and assist. So what kind of advice would you give for someone looking to start?
First of all, they have to know the art of wiring. I think that's almost the first thing. The second thing, they've got to have a great personality. I mean, if they're going to spend 12 or 14 hours a day with me and Doug and the other people on the set, the crew, they've got to have a personality that gels. You know, they can't be somebody that's abrasive.
Well, there's diplomacy, and then there's somebody that really is respectful, because that's their. This is a hard thing to describe, but you know what I mean. It's like there's a difference between telling somebody what they need to hear to get something from them, and then somebody who is truly appreciative of.
Yeah, who's genuine. Somebody that's genuine. Yeah, and then I'm also looking for someone that has the passion. We were at brunch earlier today with some other sound people. We were talking about someone, and just nothing in particular, but that they didn't seem to have a lot of passion about the craft.
Right.
And I think that's really important. You know, it's not just a job. It's something you've got to really enjoy doing. I mean, with the amount of hours we spend and times away from our families and et cetera, it's
a lot of time to spend at something just to
yeah.
You know, it's a lot of your life going into it. So you have to
So let's see. Skills of wiring, respectful, passion.
Yeah.
What else do we look for in a third? Being on time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Organizational
skills. Yeah.
Because things, I mean,
because they have to clean up behind me usually.
Know your favorite biscuit.
No, not so much worried about that, but you know, I'm bad about dragging equipment out or looking for something or putting something together. in our sound trailer sometimes. But what else do we look for in a third? You know, what Alana's been is a real ambassador to the younger people on the set for us. I think a lot of the PAs, and yet because she's 26. Yeah, so she's a bit younger than us, so she's a great ambassador to all the younger seconds and thirds and PAs on the set. So that's kind of nice. Not that that's what we look for in a person, but that's just something I've noticed. You know, they're all into the same kind of music and things. There's a lot of things that she has in common with them that maybe Doug and I wouldn't have with them. So it makes her a great ambassador.
It's also nice to have a woman on the crew too, because it's more comforting sometimes for you know, female actresses, and you know, too much testosterone is too much testosterone. It's like nice to have somebody that balances that.
Yeah. Oh, what else do we look for in the third? Some boom skills, but also
she's a great boom.
Yeah. Well, guess who taught her? But that's another story. But is somebody that's always willing to learn and think outside the box, because over the years we've had to figure out workarounds for wirelesses, for whatever, for miking, and we're always thinking outside the box, and we're always learning. One of the jokes I make is I know 243 ways to wire somebody, and every picture I do, I learn 4 more. You know, wow. As to not ever think that I know everything. You know, you got to always have a willing to learn more. Yeah,
definitely, and willing to take constructive criticism too. You know, I try to be that way, because I've certainly been around for a while, but I know I don't know everything, and I don't want to know everything. Until you know, it's like nice to continue to learn, and you know, have somebody that can bring something to the party that you might not have thought of, or might not have thought of for several years, or you know, just a different perspective is good. And that's kind of the way we both work too, because there'll be days where it's like, well, you know, have you thought about doing something this? It's like, oh yeah, you know, that's
we'll bounce things off, or sometimes they'll tell me no, that will never work, and then it does. I always say that about the ShamWow.
Oh yeah, the ShamWow.
The ShamWow. It's already out.
We can't give away all the
secrets. All right. We've shared that with many people, but anyway.
That's right.
But moving,
give away all the secrets, because then you're putting yourself out of a job.
Yeah.
Of course. No, well, we'll swiftly move on to talking about just equipment. Then we've had one question from Maya, kind of on your thoughts of the latest gear versus the old standard you trust, which I guess is kind of loose to what you know best. You can still get good results out of. So,
well, I'm going to let Doug talk about boom poles because he has some strong opinion, or I shouldn't say strong. He has some opinions of what he likes and what he deals with as far as equipment.
Well, a long time ago when Ambient first started making boom poles, I talked to those guys and got one of their very first poles, I think.
That he's still using.
Still have.
Wow.
He's got boom poles that are what, 20 years old?
Yeah.
That we use every day. I don't know.
They've just always been. They're a little heavier than some, a little more rigid than some. You know, if somebody goes, "Oh, it's too heavy," but you know, part of the reason it's heavy is because it's very rigid and it's held up to all kinds of abuse for many years. And I mean, I can rebuild them myself, and you know, great customer service from those guys. So I've just always been a fan of theirs. Some of the other ones are a little lighter. You know, they have problems after a while. But so I'm a big Ambient fan. That's pretty well documented, I think. It's not that I don't like the other manufacturers. It's just they've always done good for me, and that's one of the things. It's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, they've just never had a reason to switch. And I've tried all the other ones out too, and they're all, you know, everybody makes good products. That's just the one for me.
Yeah, completely. And you, Whit?
As far as restate the question again, old equipment versus
the question. Yeah, the question was, what are your thoughts on kind of jumping on the latest gear all the time versus sticking with the old standards? So I know that you're, for instance, you're just getting to grips with the Kantar, for instance. Yeah. So do you want to talk a bit about that?
Sure. I mean, I've always when I thought there was something new worth, you know, trying out, and that's what I'm doing on this picture, is trying out the Kantar, giving it a run. I wasn't necessarily a fan of the first Kantars, but I think what they've done with the X3 is pretty impressive. But over the years, you know, going from a 4.2 Nagra, well, even before that, I did use some of the other Nagras, but mainly going from the 4.2 to the time code to DAT, I've always made the leaps with the new technology. Wasn't afraid to jump on with it. And then to the Diva 2, I mean, I wish I could talk to Jeff. I'm trying to think when the Diva 2 came out. But basically, I've recorded on Divas for over a decade. I think I probably plus some, going from the Diva 2 to the Diva 5 and to the Diva 16. And the Diva 16 is still on my card. I think they are still some of the most solid recorders built as far as hard drive recorders. And that's not to say that there are not other ones that are not. I've had Sound Devices as other recorders and as additional recorders. They make a great product. But I got really excited about the Kantar and jumping on board with the new Kantar. I think they've have done some things really nice. And I know we've got the Diva 32 that'll be coming out hopefully soon. I think they're planning end of the year next year for it. So that'll be great to see what Zaxcom does there. But I think we have to embrace new technology.
Definitely, it's foolish to ignore a new tool that might make your job better or easier.
Yeah.
We're DPA microphones.
Yeah, we're starting to explore the DPA microphones. Nice. The 4068 we've been using for the plant mic.
Yeah, that's really great.
And there are new lavs that are coming out. We're looking forward to that. I got to do some beta testing of that one when it was out here, and we've started to use some of their shotguns a little bit and play with those. But we've always, you know, we've changed mics a few times over the years.
We're kind of gear nuts too. We always like to see the new stuff and give it a test drive. And some of it would incorporate, and some of it you just don't. You know, it just depends on
what your needs are.
But I think my opinion is, I think it's foolish to ignore any new developments, you know, just to be staunch. Well, I've always used this for years. You know, it's kind of like 416 was a great microphone for years and years and years, and there's still a place for them today, but there's so many other great microphones out there that you don't, you know, I think to ignore anything that's coming out like that and not at least give it a shot.
Yeah, to look at it, to check it out, to see what's out there. But
It's
yeah,
kind of closing yourself off from something that might be helpful.
is that answering our?
Yeah, no, it's covering it from all angles, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And Jeff did chime in and said 1998. So that's
Diva
when,
The Diva 2 came out.
Two.
Yeah, the Diva 2
yeah,
came
two.
out.
Because he said he had the first one and he used it at the end of 1997. So
Yeah. Okay.
but in terms of because obviously your length of career and going from onto things like file-based recording or going from film to DAT, those seem to be kind of massive leaps in technology.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to still find that you're still.
By the way,
Yeah. Both of us used to actually physically cut tape.
we could probably both still splice tape if we had to, just to show you how long we've been doing this.
But I feel it's really interesting at this point because I feel that the question from Maya is also coming because we've got into kind of a standard of file-based recording, and now the I guess now the standard is kind of so high, if you see what I mean, because of the rate of gear dropping and things like that. But it's interesting to see that you're still trying out lots of new stuff. In terms of let's say you're using a certain type of lav, a certain type of whatever, are you going for a kind of I'm trying to think of like sonic identity, for lack of a better word, in terms of your gear? Do you like your like booms to kind of complement your radios, and what's your kind of process for kind of testing that out?
Well, it's actually getting it out there and testing it out. I know one thing we did with the DPA beta mic that's been out was comparing it against an MKH50 and a Sheps also. Yeah, I was kind of seeing how it is because that if it doesn't complement each other, then it makes it hard for me to mix. You know, to be able to, when that actor's walking up, before I pass them off to Doug or Doug passes them off to me, if the mics don't complement each other, I'm not able to do a smooth transition. So that's really important.
Well, in post-production too. I mean, when you're going from a big wide shot, you know, with wireless into close-ups on, you know, hypercardioid mic, and then like, you know, into more intimate circumstances, you kind of want it to match as closely as possible all the way through, so that in post they're not doing a lot of, you know, tweaking and compression and EQ and stuff like that. If the mics all complement each other or sound similar or easy to,
well, they complement each other. Yeah, that would be.
I guess, yeah, they're never going to sound exactly the same, but you know what I mean. So you have a cohesive.
Yeah, that kind of sonic identity. I'm really trying to think about it.
They match sonically, I guess. Yeah.
No, fantastic. Well, I need to kind of open it up to everyone else. If you have any more questions, do keep them coming.
Yeah, thanks,
sure.
But yeah, I know you said you'd only stay for like 15 minutes, and it's been like an hour. So thank you very much. Yeah. Oh, gotta go.
Well, thanks for having me. And
yeah. Well, I thought about it. We were having brunch in the day.
I got suckered into it. He didn't. He's like, you got to come to my house now that I'll buy you breakfast, but no, I'm glad to be here. And I'm a big fan of yours, Matt, and thank you for keeping this going. It's helping a lot of people, and you know, a lot of people get to know each other and get to see how other people do things. So thank you for your time too.
Yeah. Well, it can't be done without everyone who's participating. So thanks as well.
I know my friends out there and new friends I might meet, and I'm going to leave now.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you at all. No. We probably have some laughter that we can put on and some applause.
Let's have fun.
All right.
See you early in the morning.
Were there any questions for Doug before he left?
No, not as yet. Everyone's just saying that they're just having great fun. Oh yeah, Jeff says it was a great choice to get Doug to come as well. I think it's good to have a team talking together. It's really interesting. Yeah.
And maybe we can do one sometimes where we'll have the three of us and get Alana involved.
There you go. Yeah, we need bigger ones. No, everyone's just saying thank you to Doug. Well, I'm interested to hear more about the Kantar and what kind of qualities are kind of get you interested in pursuing testing that out.
Yeah, one of the things that caught my attention was the analog inputs. Being that I work off of a Sonosax, an 8-channel Sonosax. And so with the higher track counts that we see occasionally, not that I need more than 8 channels that often, but it does come up occasionally. And so I have to do some workarounds to be able to do that. Well, one thing that I noticed the Kantar would do for me is I could bring in the 8 from the Sonosax, and then I can bring in 4 more analog tracks and mix them right on the Kantar with the faders that are on the Kantar. Okay, so what that's doing for me, it's extending the life of my Sonosax, so I don't have to get it's one of the other digital mixers that people are using and putting on their carts that you've got to have inverters for and different things. I didn't really want to go that route, and I've fallen in love with how the Sonosax sounds. So, and I think the Kantar sounds that way also, in my opinion, if you are using its mic pre's. But basically, it gives me 4 more channels that I can use, which hopefully I'm not going to be using anything that it needs over 12. Obviously, that would be a special scene or something that you could prepare for and that type of a thing. But that was one of the first things that caught my attention about it. And then the sonic quality of it, now that they have a screen that I've been told that eventually will have a touch screen for it, which I'm a big fan of the touch screen. Anybody who's operated a Diva will tell you that. It was so funny when I was first starting to use the Kantar, I kept wanting to touch the screen. just an old habit. And also at this point, Aton, Pascal there has been very open to emails and suggestions, because this is at a time when a machine is in its early stages of being used in the field. There's easy to do software updates and some things like that. There's some things in the file structures I wanted to do to make it, or at least have the option to do, to make it a little more, the file names a little more friendlier for Pro Tools and for Avid. And they did that. There's some other things about it saving some settings when we reboot the machine that they were going to do, but they're very open to some things, and we've made some suggestions to them, and they're incorporating this, I believe, in some of the new softwares. So it's always nice when, I wouldn't say I'm the guinea pig, but I guess one of the early US users of the X3, we were trying to figure out who all had them in the US. Not that our workflow is that much different than anywhere else in the world, but, incorporating, when I say that, the post workflow and with the file names and some of that, because they'd never been asked that before, but we were trying to make it more Pro Tools and Avid friendlier.
I see. And so what's your kind of file name structure or hierarchy for deliverables?
Well, it wasn't what mine was, it was what the Kantar had been doing. It had been putting equal signs between some of the information, and that Pro Tools does not like that, and Avid does not like that. Or any empty spaces also. So, but everyone does like underscore.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, some of that was what was replacing the equal signs that had been a part of, I guess, Kantar's file writing for 12 years. And so now that's an option to where you can change that if you prefer to.
Nice.
So what else? I mean, I don't know. It's a great machine. It's nice turning a knob like the old Nagras, to go into a menu or to go into record versus punching buttons. You feel it go into record. So that's kind of nice. I don't know. What other questions do you have about it? I'm not sure I did a good job of talking.
I'm just interested because it's the one, in terms of just the layout, it definitely looks like it certainly packs a lot in for this kind of size of the device.
Oh, absolutely.
I haven't had any hands-on experience, unfortunately. So,
the machine will do probably much more than I will ever use it to do. Like what always gets me on some of the recorders is how many different headphone maps you can have and settings.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to use probably 2, also different settings for different inputs. There's so many different setups, and for recording MS and doing a lot of different things that I'm not sure I would ever be using the Kantar for it, but it's got more horsepower than I will use. But one of the great things I thought about it, there's an Ethernet port, and there's several other ports and I guess a Wi-Fi type antenna and things that are going to be stuff that they'll be incorporating into the future. And that was one of the things that I was really happy about, Matt. I know this machine has a future.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Be out of date in a few years. They plan on growing this machine to do a lot. And I thought, wow, this is a machine that, if I like it and it works out, I might have it for, 10 years. Who knows? I mean, I still see Peter Liedal and some of the others out there with their original Kantars still using them. The Kantar 1, or they're either using it as their backup and have a 2. And so it's like that caught my attention also about the machine, that it wasn't going to be obsolete in a few years.
Yeah, it's definitely a big concern in terms of just, again, it comes back to the question earlier from Maya, just about kind of new gear, chasing new gear versus staying with the kind of old standard. Do you feel like generally overall everything's kind of leveling off? Do you feel the rate of progress is not necessarily slowing, but because now we've kind of, let's say, covered the basics? Do you feel like now for the more complex things, everything's kind of tapering off, so gear will inherently last longer?
I think so. I mean, with the 600 series from Sound Devices and what all they've done, what are you going to do different, I guess? What are you going to add or change there? With the Oasis coming out from Zaxcom and the Diva 32, okay, what are you going to do different or make better? Is it the CL12? Is that the new? Yeah, from Sound Devices. I saw it the other week when they were down here in Atlanta. The same thing. That's a great tool. I don't really see it. And now we've got the F8 out. Is that what
F8
from Zoom?
Yeah. Yes. F8. Yep.
And I actually, even though I probably would never use one, but I actually played with it and listened to the preamps and everything down at True Audio a few weeks ago, since it was the new thing. I at least took a look at it and decided what looked at the positive things about it, and that's how are you going to do anything much better than that for $1,000 and 8 tracks?
Yeah,
it's not that's the answer to everybody. That's not the tool that everybody needs, but that'll definitely help some people out there. But yeah, I think we're starting to. It's just how long the equipment's going to last. Before it starts not working correctly or breaking down. I always thought microphones were the best investment. If you bought a really good mic, and the mic is where it always starts. I still have a 416 in my kit. Nice. I have some CMC chips that are probably 20 years old that we still use. Microphones last. I mean, obviously DPA's come out with some new things, and we saw Shep's come out with the CMIT
Super, yeah.
But that's even been out a long time. I mean, it's been out. But other than, I think there's sometimes being some inexpensive microphones out there, that microphone technology doesn't change that much. Obviously, there are some digital mics out there. I'll probably stick with analog for a while. Just because of the durability in the field, but that's my choice.
Yeah, I've got the Super CMIT, so I've got the digital and the 5U in it as well.
Yeah, did you use the digital side that much?
I do actually. I find that I'm using. I keep both anyway, just for even projects that I do post on or that other people do, just in case. Places where it doesn't really work are, I guess, when there's any kind of white noise situation in the background, like leaves rustling and things like that. You can really feel it like pumping or whatever. But
well, some of the tests I did on it seems like queuing back and forth was an issue. There was a delay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've had that. It's yeah,
or maybe it's when we were outside and there was a lot of noise in the background. Maybe that's.
It's more the background, because again, it's still bang on, kind of like the 5U, but it's then just giving you a bit more. I found it quite useful in kind of when they do locked off interviews, but in massive rooms, and they've got like a crazy like wide shot or whatever. But so when it's constant, it's fine. But I just felt I'd invest with that, because I felt that the I may as well, the 5U was already so much that I may as well go all the way and have the option, and again just give myself kind of a little backup. But I haven't used have I used preset 2? Maybe I've used preset 2 like once as well in like really bad traffic, and that's it's definitely something to get out of jail in a documentary, probably not for kind of full on narrative stuff, but it's just good to have.
It's better to have it and not need it than to not have it.
Exactly, and it's just another useful bit of kit. Thankfully, all my stuff most of the stuff I do is kind of all fits in one pellet case. It's all pretty compact, which is quite good.
That's awesome.
yeah, I think it fits in a 1620 pellet case, so it's basically the width of any bag, and you can fit that in sideways, and then you've got some room underneath, and then just all your mics down the side. So that gets me about a bit, and it's bulletproof for travel as well. Which is
that's great.
See it roll down, just crushing other people's stuff. Just like, So, well, I thank you very much for your time. I mean, it's been bang on pretty much an hour, which is fantastic. And we've had over 30, 40 people being watching this.
That's great.
25 still with us at the moment. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess I don't know if you have any final thoughts or anything that's come out of this that you'd want to pass on, but I think we've covered a lot of stuff.
We've covered everything.
Yeah.
For all the, I guess the people trying to get in or people trying to get started is, and this is something I say all the time to young people or people starting out is have a little patience. It takes years to build a career. It doesn't happen in a month or 6 months or even a year. It takes a long time. Pursuing the craft of sound. And I think a lot of times with everybody getting everything so quickly, and so the way our society is on demand, you can do anything or have anything in the world on your doorstep in 2 days, and people are, and I see it in my teenagers especially, but just take the time, pursue your heart, pursue your passion, and be prepared. It's going to take a little while to reach that goal of being whatever level of sound mixer you want to be.
No, brilliant advice, definitely. Yeah. I'm still going strong after 5 years, and it still always just feels like the start. It's always quite a lot of stuff's easier, but again, you're always pushing and just like you're doing with your career onto kind of more and more complex things, it seems, just to keep everything alive, which is good. Fantastic. Well, I will sign off, and then I can chat offline a bit, but I'll kind of officially end the sound chat. Just thanks to everyone who's come on this. This will be available on soundrolling.com there's the thing like here, I think. Yeah. So you can just follow that link, and then everything will be there. It takes a bit of time to process, but it'll be up kind of later today, I hope. And just thanks to you, Whit. Thanks to everyone's questions, and I'll let you say the final goodbye, and then we'll have a little chat offline.